this is an opportunity for Malaysia to try out a few things without needing to worry whether they are going to go for win or for victory or defeat, because the thing is, when it comes to friendlies against Singapore, a win may not mean much in a friendly match. It's the competition, the real actual competition, that really matters. A loss against Singapore might not be the end of the world. It's not a pressure situation where it's a do or die. So they can afford to send in their second choice goalkeeper, a second string defense, midfield attack, just to see how they cope against Singapore, who are expected to likely field their strongest players available under the caretaker coach Gavin Lee, who takes charge of this match after the previous Singapore head coach Sutomo Ogura of Japan. Malaysia national men's head coach Peter Klemowski has called out 29 players for the upcoming September international window, where they will play against Singapore and Palestine on the 4th and 8th of September respectively. There are a number of changes from the squad that defeated Vietnam in the Asian Cup qualifier at Bukit Jalil Stadium back in June this year. Among the players who were involved in the 4-0 win over Vietnam in the official competitive match in the last international period, Matthew Davis, who was the captain of that game, was totally omitted from the squad this time. The Johor Darul Takzim fullback has not actually made a single appearance in either league or cup competition in the 2025-26 campaign so far, and given his lack of minutes, it makes sense that he was totally dropped from the national team setup despite making his contribution in that victory as part of the three-man centre-back pairing. At the same time, there were recalls for Terengganu right-back Azam Azmi and Ezekiel Aguero of Thai League One side Kanchanaburi Power after they were omitted from the squad in the previous window. Both of them were actually involved in the ASEAN All-Star squad that stunned Manchester United 1-0 at the Bukit Jalil National Stadium on 20th of May. There are two brand new players in this squad who are receiving their call-ups for the first time. 31-year-old Terengganu goalkeeper Suhaimi Husin and 22-year-old Rafe Rovers fullback Richard Chin Lee Hua, and also returning to squad after missing the final cut on the 23-man squad for their win over Vietnam. Quentin Cheng, Daniel Ting and Dominic Tan from Sabah, Azri Ghani, the goalkeeper from Negeri Sembilan, Safawi Rashid of Kuala Lumpur City, and JDT defender Sharusat. At the same time, among those who do not make it for the squad this time, Terengganu young centre back Ubaidullah Shamsul Fazli, who was on the bench in that 4-0 win, he's instead with the national under-23 squad who are preparing for the AFC under-23 Asian Cup qualifiers, which is also set to take place in September. And Argentine-born midfielder Emano Matucha, who came on as a substitute against Vietnam for his maiden international appearance, he's not released by his Argentine club Vélez Sarsfield due to domestic league commitments. And with those shuffles in this 29-man squad, we do expect Klemowski to make various experimentations and, you can say, try out on certain strategies that he intends to use ahead of their Asian Cup qualifying double-header against Laos in October. But first, let saya touch on the two new faces in the Harimau Malaya squad this time. The first one is quite brief. Suhaimi Musin, the 31-year-old goalkeeper from Terengganu. This is his first ever national team call-up, whether it's at youth or at senior level. And having had his career entirely at the East Coast states, he has never featured at the national team level before until now. And it was only in this decade that Suhaimi finally made an impression between the posts for the Turtles. And for this season alone, he has been their first choice for every single match in the Malaysian Super League so far. He's not expected to dislodge the first choice goalkeeper Shihan Hazmi of JDT, nor the other goalkeepers in or either Azri Ghani of Negeri Sembilan or Haziq Nazli of Kuching City. So for Suhaimi, this will be his first taste of being in part of the national team camp at home, and it will be quite an invaluable experience for him and an eye-opener for him, for 31-year-old who is a latecomer to the international scene. But it also reflects Klemoski's desire to keep his options open, particularly when previous Selangor first choice Sheikh Izan is now displaced by Kalamullah Al-Hafiz in the Selangor as the Selangor's first choice goalkeeper, and Kalamullah has been placed on the list of standby players alongside, among the names in the standby list, a very interesting name, Wan Kuzain. And just an update, Kuching City striker, Nigerian born striker Jordan Minta has been awarded Malaysian citizenship today after fulfilling his 5-year residency requirement, and as such we may expect perhaps a late call-up if any of the forwards who are named in the squad withdraw at the last moment. So in a way, never say never, now that Jordan Minta is now eligible to represent Malaysia for international tournaments and matches. Now, moving on to the other new player which has raised quite a lot of interest, Richard Chin, whose parents who claims eligibility for Malaysia through his grandparents, not his father, even though his father is of Malaysian Chinese descent, but his father is British through and through. So on Wikipedia mentioned that his father was born in Malaysia, which is not true, but through his father, his grandparents were Malaysian Chinese. So that allows Chin to be eligible to represent Malaysia, and thus getting his first call up to the Harimau Malaya after a few years of, I think, talks with the Football Association of Malaysia to ascertain his eligibility to turn out for them in international events. Born on 15th of October 2002, Chin actually began his playing career with Charlton Athletic, which an English professional club who is currently in the championship. And he actually joined the Addicts at the age of 6 and rose through the ranks from the under-9s all the way to the first team. He actually made his professional debut for the Addicts in November 2021 when he started in the 1-0 defeat to Leyton Orient in the English Football League Trophy or EFL Trophy in question. And his first start in all competitions came under the then caretaker manager Johnny Jackson. He subsequently made his league debut on the 16th of September 2022 when he started against Forest Green Rovers in third tier League One, when he was selected into starting 11 by then manager Ben Garner. And he actually enjoyed a breakthrough 2022-23 season as an academy graduate, where he made a total of 11 appearances in all competitions, including 5 in League One that season, where he made a total of 3 starts in that competition. And after a few loan stints at Dartford and a couple of loan stints at Dartford and Bath City, he joined Farnborough as a free agent ahead of the 2024-25 season in the National League South, which is the sixth tier in the English Football League pyramid. And in that season, he enjoyed his most prolific form up front, where he had contributed 7 goals and provided 6 assists in 42 league appearances, as he helped his former club finish 10th in the National League South and kept their status in the competition. And he signed for his current club, Raith Rovers, which is currently playing in the second tier Scottish Championship this season. He signed for them in June 2025, and to date he has made a total of 6 appearances, all of them substitute, in all competitions this season, 3 of them in the Scottish Championships and 3 in the Scottish League Cup, which is a League Cup competition intended for the initially for the lower league sides, before the Premiership sides come in the latter stages. Now, talking about Chin's style of play, this is where he provides a variety of options for Klemowski and the Malaysia coaching staff. For he actually started out at Charlton as a fullback. He's actually adept on both flanks. He's your typical modern fullback who loves to play on the overlap and is strong on the ground with his ability to intercept and make tackles before dangerous crosses could be floated inside his team's own third. And apart from being versatile on a fullback, the 2024-25 season saw him establish himself in another role as a winger, where he once again capable of operating on either flank. He has a knack of cutting in from the wing and taking on defenders, whether it was to drag his markers away from their intended positions, or to wrong foot the defender before making a burst of speed to provide either a cross or a dangerous pass inside the box. So his adaptability in playing either in defense or on the wings, a total 4 positions, his ability of playing on these positions makes him actually a very interesting asset for Harimau Malaya, because for Malaysia, while they have their strong mainstays, particularly Dion Koos, who is now the undisputed right back, but is also very capable of playing at centre back, and you have Arif Aiman at right back. On left back, for now it appears to be Lavere Corbin Ong, who has been a mainstay for Johor for a number of years, but for this season has been curiously relegated into a substitute's role on the bench. That is his main area of expertise. Then on the left wing, that's where things are pretty interesting, because João Figueiredo can actually play on the wing as well, and given that Arif is exclusively on the right, Usually that could have been João Figueiredo's position, but given the given that Figueiredo is stronger going forward, but he has competition in fellow Argentine-born striker Manu Hidalgo, that makes that left wing position a very interesting prospect for whoever seizes it to be able to take it. And Malaysia actually are not short of options on the left flank either. Whether it is Safawi Rashid who's called up this time, or previously you had Akia Rashid or Shafiq Ahmad, who are also capable of playing on either wings. But Richard Chin's versatility, his pace, his build, his strong disposition where he's not afraid to put in the challenges, but also his fearlessness in taking on defenders, and especially when you come across Southeast Asian or Asian opponents, that fearlessness in cutting in from the wings will come in quite handy, as it opens up space for his teammates to cut through. And given Klemoski's penchant for pressing from the front and pushing forward, Richard Chin fits the bill to the T. And I do look forward to seeing how Richard Chin can contribute in those friendly matches against Singapore and Palestine. Now, moving forward, while there are no major surprises apart from the inclusion of Richard Chin in the 29-man squad for the upcoming international window, I'm actually interested to see how Klemoski tweaks his system ahead of the October doubleheader against Laos. Singapore, while not in the top 100 and not even in the top 150, is, I think, at least a few ranks below Malaysia. They do provide a similar level of competitiveness where you can see Laos can be compared to Singapore in this aspect for where Harimau Malaya are concerned, Malaysia are concerned. And what the Tigers can do is, I think, using this opportunity for that 4th of September friendly against Singapore at the Bukit Jalil National Stadium to try out certain things. Whether it's to play an all-out attacking game as what they'll likely do against Laos, as they need to achieve that 6 points by October, putting themselves in a strong position to qualify for Saudi Arabia 2027 Asian Cup Finals. This is an opportunity to test out players who are not regulars in the national teams, and perhaps, I'm going to say really perhaps, Malaysians can look forward to seeing more local born players featuring in this Causeway Derby friendly against Singapore. And the plus point for Malaysia is partially thanks to their flexibility in allowing heritage players, which has always been the case until this year, but it's back to the heritage player scheme at this moment, where Richard Chin, with his eligibility through his grandparents from his father's side, is able to represent Malaysia without any questions over eligibility issues and all the background, because the background is as clear as night and day. It's very clear. Unlike Singapore's continued dittering over the current Cardiff City right back Perry Ng, where there has been no news on the Singapore side whether Ng is involved or otherwise. But this is an opportunity for Malaysia to try out a few things without needing to worry whether they are going to go for win or for victory or defeat, because the thing is, when it comes to friendlies against Singapore, a win may not mean much in a friendly match. It's the competition, the real actual competition, that really matters. A loss against Singapore might not be the end of the world. It's not a pressure situation where it's a do or die. So they can afford to send in their second choice goalkeeper, a second string defense, midfield, attack, just to see how they cope against Singapore, who are expected to likely field their strongest players available under the caretaker coach Gavin Lee, who takes charge of this match after the previous Singapore head coach Tsutomu Ogura of Japan. He returned home to take his new appointment as part of the new technical committee to oversee GFA technical committee to oversee the revision of the coaching qualification system in his home nation. Now, what about the game against Palestine that will be played at the Sultan Ibrahim Stadium in Johor on the 8th of September? I think this is where Klemoski will want his starting 11 to perform at a level where they can show that they are up against a national team who have previously qualified in recent Asian Cups, and it will put a real benchmark in what Klemoski thinks he can do, especially with not just the qualifiers ahead but also plotting towards the Asian Cup finals itself in their goal towards reaching back-to-back Asian Cup finals. And this squad provides a perfect opportunity for Klemoski to test out. Save for the goalkeepers, I don't expect all 4 goalkeepers to actually be playing 45 minutes each in both games, but I do expect Klemoski to try out 2 different lineups in this window as they look forward towards October and November to have one foot towards qualification before the new year comes. And results maybe ultimately do not matter, not against Singapore, not when I expect a second string lineup against Singapore, but I think the game against Palestine will give an indicator on what Klemoski will really want to do. He might mix up his lineup a bit against Palestine, but I think the key players will return for the game against Palestine. Singapore will be a chance to give his other players a run out to show what they're capable of, because given it's still a Causeway derby, so I do expect the Singapore players to have that derby feeling, much stronger derby feelings than Malaysia in this context. So where this is concerned, I think given how we have seen how Klemoski has operated his Harimau Malaysia side so far, and we have seen the results, and we have seen how they have played against quality opponents, not just in the Asian Cup qualifiers but also in the friendly against Cape Verde, where they actually had a 1-1 draw in the official friendly before losing 0-3 in the unofficial game. But sometimes friendlies are meant to test out certain things that cannot be done during matches, and they will want to have at least a plan B that is actually in place to be seriously tested out for the full 90 minutes before in future matches where there might be a need to call for that plan B. So I think this is a window where we can see some experimentation. I do expect to see Richard Chin feature in at least one of the 2 friendlies, and I think for at least 1 or 2 players who might still be knocking on the doors despite the flux of foreign-born players in the squad, including the previous batches of heritage or naturalized players, to show that they are still in serious contention in Klemoski's tactical plans.